authorized providers, just a fraction of them, a small fraction of them. So in these schools, they offer DASCA certification programs. We have Harvard, we have Cornell, Johns Hopkins, University of Pennsylvania, NYU, Purdue, a lot of them, so many of them. So the good thing about it is if you have a DASCA certification, you are definitely going to be at par with students from these schools who also have a DASCA certification. So, if you want to get more information because of our time, please reach out to us at certification@octaveanalytics.com, and we'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions. So let's just business of today. So today's session, we'll be talking about key strategies to maximize data science career opportunities in a post-COVID world. And we do have our panelists, of course, today. Let's meet our panelists. So our first panelist today is Mr. Samuel Akinlotan. And I have had the opportunity to hear him speak a couple of times, and I'm just super excited to, have him on board, have him here, because I know he has a lot of insightful things to share with our trainees and our participants. So I'm just going to touch on his profile a little bit. This is just a fraction of his profile anyway. So Mr. Samuel Akinlotan, of course, is a seasoned facilitator. He's an internationally certified talent management professional and a career coach with experience in talent acquisition, performance management, learning and development, and employee engagement. Of course, he's a human resource professional. He prefers people-centric solutions to leading organizations across diverse sectors and industries. We have retail chain stores, banking, education, media, and so many more. Now, this is the awesome thing about Mr. Samuel as well. He has been recognized as the top 150 global HR influencers, top 10 HR professionals in Nigeria, and he is considered by many as one of the brightest HR professionals in Nigeria. He is the founder and project lead for the Young HR Professional Network, and he has competencies in the area of training, development, performance management, customer service, communication, the whole 9 works, the whole yard, everything. He is a certified member of the Human Resource Certification Institute, Society for Human Resource Management, Talent Management Institute, and the Global Institute of Organizational Development Professionals. So we're really excited to have Mr. Samuel on board. Thank you so much, Mr. Samuel, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I was going to deny this profile, even though my picture is just beside it, but thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Okay, so our next speaker is Mr. Michael Omose. Mr. Michael is, of course, also, he has vast experience when it comes to youth development, and he does a lot of speaking engagement. So please believe me when I tell you that we're just super excited to have him on board here. Let me just go over his profile also. He is a result-oriented professional with experience in youth marketing, retail banking, marketing strategy, brand management, media planning, business development, non-profit management, everything. He is currently the head strategy and growth at Data Science Nigeria, and he has worked in a number of notable organizations like Etisalat Nigeria and FCMB. Mr. Michael holds a certification in professional marketing from the Chartered Institute of Marketing, London at CIM. He has an executive master's in project management from QP International, and he has a BSc in biochemistry from the University of Benin. And he has also attended training on marketing strategies in telecoms from the famous Telecoms Academy, London, UK. And one awesome thing about Mr. Michael is that in 2012, he was one of the top 50 youth selected across Nigeria to participate in the intensive mini MBA program themed Venture in Enterprise Management Professional Program, at the Lagos Business School, Pan Atlantic University, Lagos, Nigeria. Aside from his 9-to-5 job, he speaks, he writes at conferences and youth programs on marketing, entrepreneurship, personal branding, and leadership. And I can tell you for a fact that, Mr. Michael has done, in fact, so much as regards this. So we are so happy to have you, Mr. Michael. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Good to be around here.
Thank you. So our last but not the least speaker, of course, is Mr. Michael Kalu, Enterprise Risk Management Zenith Insurance. Yes, Mr. Michael is somebody that we're really, really glad to have on our for our session today, and I'm just going to go over some of the things that he has done as well. Mr. Michael Kalu is a proven data-driven strategist with the ability to combine vision and creativity. He has a strong business acumen with well-developed project management skills and leadership qualities to support go-to-market efforts, product launches, and customer insights. Mr. Michael has led retail analytics efforts, CRM analytics deployment and administration, and the expansion of programs in major cities in Nigeria. He also generates intelligence reports from sales performance data and advice management through business intelligence reporting. And he has also led the execution of strategic partnership engagement, product evangelism, BTL operations, and so many more. He's a collaborative team player who is passionate about technology. He enjoys solving problems and thrives in a fast-paced, challenging environment. He's a graduate of industrial mathematics and computer science, and he also has numerous degrees. And he has worked with different organizations like Ksoft International, Edbridge, OLX, and many more. We are really, really excited to have you, Mr. Kalu, for our career development session. Thank you so much, sir, for coming for our program today.
Thanks for having me.
I guess before we start, I just want to lay down some housekeeping rules, of course. The usual, please mute your mics, of course, because, we just want to be cordial. So you can just mute your mics. And we will also be having time for questions. So if you have any questions, we might not really have the time for you to unmute your mics and talk. However, if you have questions, you can just type in your questions in the comment section below, and we'll read out your questions. And yeah, I think that's basically it for now. So yes, we can just get started to today's career development sessions. Okay, so I guess we could just start. Mr. Samuel Akiloto, I think my first question goes to you. And I want to just open up and just give you a little sneak peek as to why we actually decided to organize this program. Now, as I said, we've been training our graduates, 3 months training program for all our graduates. And our CEO was just, he just had this mind, and he just came up with this concept like, okay, it would be funny if we train these guys, and, they are very, very hands-on, and they can do all the skills, they can code, they can write algorithms, but if they don't really know how to position themselves in the real market in terms of like answering basic interview questions, for instance, or standing out among the data, among other data scientists, then it's like, maybe we didn't really do our jobs properly, or maybe we have done just 50% of what we are supposed to do. And I guess that's one of the reasons why we came up with this program. So this actually leads to my first question, which is for you, Mr. Samuel. In your field, with your experience, we want to know what qualities set a young data scientist apart from others, especially when you're considering them for a job role.
Thank you very much for that question, and thank you very much for having me once again. I would say I'm pretty excited to be on this conversation, and I think it's a big privilege to be sharing at this time with two Michaels. Such a privilege to have two Michaels on the same conversation. So Michael Mosi and Michael Kalu, thank you for having me alongside you, and to all the participants, thank you very much for joining this conversation as well. So, regards to employing or engaging data science professionals, I believe there is a whole lot of focus, at least from my experience, there are a whole lot of focus on the technical side of data science professionals, that there is a soft neglect when it comes to the behavioral side of it. There are different quotes that are out there that says that your attitude will get you there, it's your attitude that will keep you there. And what I've seen is that, so, in HR, we have competencies. Competencies are divided into two. We have technical competencies and we have behavioral competencies. On many times, we find that technical guys, for example, they are very good on the technical side. They have a good understanding of their Python, data mining, data visualization, machine learning, what have you, AI, Java, and everything, all the data skills that they need to perform their job. But what we find lacking from time to time is the behavioral side of it. And when I'm saying behavior, I'm not even in quote saying behavior. So behavioral competency speaks to things like communication, I've met IT professionals and I've met data science professionals and, you're asking them, so why are you doing what you do? You get the whole idea, the whole concept with them is the fact that they are doing data, they are mining data, they are, representing data. But what businesses are really interested in is, can you communicate, with me in regards to what business value you are doing? So I think that is the first thing. And communicating business value. I think communication skills is one of it. And communication also speaks to even the formal writing side of it, sending emails, formal communication. I've seen job applications from data scientists that, it's not so detailed. They are not selling themselves. They are selling more of their skills, which is a good thing. But there's a universal hiring rule in recruitment that we have. It says people hire people they like. And when it comes to hiring people you like, it means it is not your skills I'm liking, it is you as a person I'm liking. So if you cannot express yourself such as I can have a feel of who you are as an individual, but only your skills. I can receive 10 applications from 10 different people. And they'll tell me they have, data mining skills, data visualization, data management, and what have you. But what makes you different is how you put yourself into your application, for example. So I think the first thing, second thing I would say there is putting yourself into communicating business value on there. If I'm going to mention any other thing as well, I would say adaptability is another very good thing that is very important. And the reason I'm saying this is because so many things are changing and shifting in the data space, in technology space, in recent years. We used to have databases physically in infrastructures in offices, but now we have cloud computing, we have cloud technology that we don't have to do all this work in the office again. And as we have all this, it also means you need to develop skills that align with these changes in technological space. So I think adaptability as well, agility, that's the word, learning on the go and moving very fast. Another thing I think we also look out for aside from that. So bringing who you are as an individual, what makes you different, being able to communicate business value and agility. I think those three things are very important for anyone looking to build a career. My thoughts. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Samuel. Oh my God, I'm just writing, and I mean, basically, you've hit the nail on the head, basically. And communicating business values. I think that is one skill that is lacking among data scientists, and agility, learning on the go. Those are really valid points. Thank you so much, Mr. Samuel. Mr. Michael Umase, I'm coming to you, sir. So the thing about it now is, I think the question I'm about to ask you is kind of like in line with the previous question, but I want us to say it this way now. You know how it is where data scientists or data analysts, a lot of them can build models and they can do research and build algorithms and they are so good at coding and everything. But when it comes to applying all that models and all that algorithm into real life, real life business, solving real life business problems, that there is a gap there. There is a huge gap there, and we've seen it time and time again. So, let me put the question like to you this way: is the data scientist in research and algorithm useful in solving real life practical application? How useful it is, and what can they do? What can a data scientist do to transform all that model building and algorithm and research and transferring it into solving real life business problems? Yes,
All
Michael.
right. Thank you, Semitope, for that question. And it's really very an interesting session. Thanks for the invite, and thanks to the panelists. Thanks for Sam that has just hit the nail on the head with that icebreaker about the question he answered. I think data science for me as a field is a very practical field that has hit the limelight in the last 5 years, and a lot of industries or companies are springing up in that space as we go ahead. So in the last 5 years, a lot of things has transformed. People have become started appreciating more around data, and I know Octave Analytics also started in 2016. That's just about 4 years ago. So a lot of appreciation for data started in the last 5 years, and we've seen a whole lot of practical application of data science in various fields, either in telecommunications, in banking, in insurance, in pensions. You know, just name the field. You can apply data science everywhere, because the real essence of data science is studying data, understanding the patterns around data, and generating key insights that can that can lead to very actionable decision-making process where and we'll see that change that is required or necessary. So I think in terms of building models and doing things around data science, it is very much applicable. You just have to look beyond the theoretical side of data science. A whole lot of data science practitioners are new in this field because it's a new space, like I mentioned, started gaining prominence in the last 5 years in Nigeria. Let me just drill down to where we are now in the last 5 years. And a lot of people in this field are very new. They're just very few professionals that really understand these things. And I'm very happy about what Octave Analytics is doing in this field and championing this course already. So there are just few practitioners like Octave doing real data science and solving problems for industries. I'm always very key about solving problems because it's not about tools or about the theoretical knowledge or the modeling you're doing. If your modeling is not solving problem for a society or for an industry, then it's as good as you're just trying to just put together things that do not make sense or just some academic work that you're putting together. So it's an applicable field in every industry, and I think for anyone that is in this field, you just need to throw your minds open to more and more ways of practically applying the theory, because it's more of an it's like it's a science and an art. Because the science part is your tools. The art is how to know when to use what tools to use at when, and how to present your work to the right audience and show them that these are the key things you've seen and how you want to apply them. So the area of data science is such an interesting field that will really, in fact, they've predicted data science as one of the jobs of the future, according to the World Economic Forum report of 2018, as predicted that data scientists, skills like this are very much needed. As I mentioned earlier, there are very few professionals. A whole lot of people are learners in this field right now, and they're just trying to catch up. And what anyone can do to really gain prominence is to build relevant industry experience and see how this can be applied to solve problems for the society, solve problems for government, solve problems for industries, banking, finance, telecoms, oil and gas, whatever way that you can apply this knowledge. There's a whole lot of opportunity available there for people to explore.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Michael. I mean, that is the basic truth. With what you said, it's all about solving problems. So understand the patterns in the data and use it to solve real life problems. We as data scientists should have an open mind and look beyond the theoretical application. And I love what you said, about how it's a science and it's an art. The science part of it is, you can know all the tools, the Python and the R and all that. But at the end of the day, the art is also very important. And I think that's the part where a lot of people just relegate to the background. When do you use those tools? How can you use those tools, to solve real life application, real life business problems? You don't want to go to a board meeting and you'll be telling the CEO, so when I built a model and I did an algorithm, they won't listen to you. They want to know how you that would generate profits for the business. So thank you very much, Mr. Michael, for that. So Mr. Kalu, I'm coming to you, sir. I think, we want to ask you some of the data science questions and stuff, but I think let me throw this question to you, sir. So, if you don't mind me asking, I want to say, what skills do you think a good data analyst should have versus a good data scientist, especially in the post-COVID world? Now, the reason why I'm asking this is because I think, there's that bloodline between being a data scientist and being a data analyst. But there are I believe that there are some key attributes that will make a data analyst stand out and a data scientist stand out, especially in this post-COVID world that we are in right now. So, so what skills do you think would a good data analyst should have and a good data scientist should have in a post-COVID world?
Okay, thank you very much, Temitope. Let me write on the existing protocol, thanking my fellow panelists, Michael and Chief Samuel, and also thanking the graduates, right, for going through this process. I would make my submissions more like what I wish I knew a few years ago, right? More like what I wish I knew like 5 years ago. First, everybody that wants to come into this space, whether you want to be a data scientist or a data analyst, you must understand how to do what I call deep work. There are lots of people that are into the data science space. Yes, it started 5 years ago, but I can tell you the influx is huge, right? If you want to measure the influx based on just what you see in Nigeria, then you might be wrong, right? Because globalization and cloud technology has broken limits. So we see subject matter experts in this field, create value all the way from India and China. So if you want to use Nigeria as your space, then you might be a bit wrong. However, deep work will help you create a space for yourself in the midst of the noise, because post-COVID will come with lots of noise, lots of different activities and lots of distractions. So you must learn to what I call zoom in, right? Because in the place of deep work, you identify those patterns that others will not see. You identify those relationships that others will not see, because that's what analytics is about, identifying patterns and relationships. So deep work it doesn't happen by default, right? So if I want to tool Michael's line, there are lots of researches that have been published. One by McKinsey in about, I think, 2012, where McKinsey said that close to 60% of the time that employees spend is spent on doing shallow work. So that's to say, people who do deep work, they are not just valuable, but they are scarce. So if you come out of this program, right, and you take the time to master deep work and do it in line with your career as a data scientist or analyst, you produce results that will not just make you a valuable asset to any company, but will make you always stand out. And when I mean stand out, I don't mean just standing out in Nigeria. I mean standing out as a voice in this space globally. So the next thing I would like to mention is, I know one of the panelists also mentioned it. That's the issue of presenting your results. Here I call it tell stories with your data. Tell stories with your data. You must master the art of telling stories with your data. Now it goes beyond your ability to use Power BI, Tableau. It goes beyond your ability to use that, because you can know how to use Power BI and Tableau, right? To move those artifacts together and create something, right? You might know how to use it, but you don't know how to tell stories. You see, if you enter a presentation and see someone sleeping, know that the person is not excited about the matter being presented. Stories will deny people their sleep, and stories will cancel what I call cancels boredom. You see, if you learn how to tell stories with your data, I'll give you a typical example. We had a consultant from Ghana who is a very good analyst, and he did a report and did a presentation. As soon as he threw that presentation, people were struggling to figure out what he was saying because they could not connect with his story. As much as the analyst, irrespective of the quality of his work, irrespective of the quality of his analytics, right, and irrespective of his reputation as being somebody that was imported all the way from Accra, Ghana, right, to provide us with this value, we could not come to terms with, we could not identify, we could not connect with the story that he was trying to tell. So you see, his job, as good as it was not valuable to the company, because you need to understand that the bulk of the people that will consume your analytics product are people that they don't have time, right? So I sent something to my MD. In the next 2 minutes, he cannot come to terms with the story I'm trying to tell. He tells you that guy did not do a good job, irrespective of how quality your work was. So you need to learn to tell stories with your data, exciting stories that that make people want to consume your work. Then the next thing I will say here is post-COVID. Post-COVID is not a threat, right? Post-COVID will make a lot of people lose their jobs, right? So one of the things that you can do, or I can do, is to learn the act of automation. Learn scripts for automation. I want to believe that Python was one of the things that we did as part of our program. VB was also possibly would have been part of what we do, we did for our program, things like SQL. But people will be automating jobs from remote locations like Bangladesh, right? And they will do it for almost peanuts, right? So you're restricted, your skill set restricts you, or makes you always want to come to the office to do manual job. You might almost be out of job. So I want to believe that whoever is coming out of this program would have gained some level of mastery. Last but not the least, they will teach us how to use tools as part of our program, how to deploy certain processes as part of our programs. But you see, you can learn process. But my counsel, where this is concerned, is master the basics. If you gain mastery of the basics, when objectives change, right? When the trend is disrupted, those who have gained mastery of the basics will figure out how to apply the basics that they've mastered in different spheres and in different cases. So don't just learn 1 + 1. Ask questions on why 1 + 1 is 2. Right? I used to have a professor who once mentioned that, you see, most times it is not because we have the right answers, it's because we didn't ask the right questions. If you ask the right questions, you have access to answers that your colleagues can't have access to. So the first thing, learn deep work, right? And then learn fast, because things will change. Yeah, just like Michael said, 5 years ago, right, certain things were prominent. Today they are obsolete, right? It might not take up to 5 years again for the ones that are prominent now, or for the ones that are relevant now, to be obsolete. Few years ago, those of us who knew about the programming space knew that things like C#, things like C++ were the in thing, right? Even things like Django were the in thing, but now they are no longer the in thing. So in summary, deep work and learn fast, learn to tell stories with your data, and then learn to script for automation. Learn to script for automation. So that once you come into a space, right, you do what 7 persons can do, right, by virtue of your automation skills. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much, sir. Wow. Oh my God. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Kalu, for that very, very insightful piece. Honestly, I think I really hope our graduate trainees are writing some of these points down, because I think some of them are even very new to us. We do have to learn, deep work. You have, and the thing about learning the art of it is very some guys some job. We're not trying to develop ourselves. And another thing you also said is, that I want to also re-emphasize is, don't ask, what 1 + 1 is, but ask why 1 + 1 is equals to 2. So you can learn the process, but master the basics, so that when the trend fades away, you can always go back to the basics. Thank you very much, sir, for that very, very insightful piece. So I'm going to come back to you, Mr. Samuel Akinloto. Yeah, so I think the question I want to ask ask you now is, um, for our graduate trainees, after this training program, of course, some of them, would be, spreading their wings and looking for beautiful job opportunities and all that. And they might be meeting people like you, in the panel session or in the interview room and stuff like that. So we just want to ask, what impresses you most when you are considering hiring someone, or in this case, a data scientist? So what is that thing that impresses you the most, when you're considering hiring someone?
Great, thank you very much for this question. And I could mention a few guidelines around even our processes. And I think I mentioned one earlier that says
Yes,
people are people they like. Yeah. Whenever I go online or I go on LinkedIn, I see someone saying, I took a chance on someone. It is because they like the person. They probably like the person's journey. They like the person's story. Yeah, and I'm going to just pick a bit from what Michael said earlier that, be able to tell a story. Yeah. Stories have a way of, winning people over, when your story is compelling and genuine. So I think your ability to, tell your story is very important. At this things, that's one of the things that makes you different from every other person, during, the selection or interviewing stage. But I think even before you get to that, it's very important to know what you want. So if I ask you a question, for example, that why do you want to be data science? Why do you want to be a data scientist? Why do you want to be a machine learning professional in the nearest future? Thereabout. You need to understand your why. Why am I doing this thing? Why do I? So are you just doing it because it sounds cool? Are you just doing it because you've heard that they pay them well? Are you doing it because you understand that there's real value that being a data scientist can add to businesses? You get how you can help businesses make sense from data. You need to understand your why and why you want to be in that profession. It's very important because anybody can just. I've seen people come to interviews and when they get to the interview, they just figure out what they want to do with their life at the interview. And you're asking them, so what do you want to do? And like anything. And I'm like, there's nothing like anything. We don't have any job called anything or any job in this organization. Then that's on his own first off. It's even a red flag for anybody you want to consider a talent. Talents know their strength. Talents know how they add value, and talents know what they want. So if you want to consider yourself as a talent, and I'm not talking as a talent here as a Nigerian talent, we need to start seeing ourselves as global talent. If we go online, I think I would just advise the class, go online. Don't just limit yourself to the Nigerian environment. Go online and look out for, people that are, practicing data science across Africa, across the world. You get in top organizations. What are the skills they are developing? What are the things they are doing? What are the learnings they've gone through? These are ways we can also, better understand what we want and how we can, get what we want, in this career. So the first thing there for me is be able to tell the story of yourself. It does not have to, your story does not have to be tied to data science. It could be your background. It could be how your background, brought you into. It could be how you study. I saw that Michael studied mathematics, right? Or something related to computer science, if my pardon me. And
Yes.
you can tie your story, for example, so you can tie your story, for example, to say, oh, how you discovered, your interest in data science is because you study mathematics, and you realize that, binary. I don't know much about math anyway. But you can say, oh, you were interested about how binary numbers, 1, 0, and all those code series, and how they could, just tell a story. That's what makes it different. I'm practicing HR, and I have a background in biochemistry. And if I should tell you my story of how I transferred from biochemistry to HR, that is just like the major thing I always say most times. People always listen. Okay. So it does not have to be too serious. It does not have to be, something out of this world. You just have to know and understand what makes you different. That's one. And that's what makes you likable. The second thing, as I mentioned, is know what you want as much as possible. And I think the third thing I would want to mention is network. As much as possible, network. And really, you network first off is more, it positions you for opportunities. That's the first thing. Because when people in your space, when people around you know what you want, you get, and they know what you can do, it's easy for them to recommend you or refer you for opportunities. That is one. The reason you should network as well is when you have people that are progressive in your network, you also identify trends, how things are changing around you in your profession as you are there. And these are conversations that will make you stand out during interviews, for example. If I'm asking you questions, I'm not interested in the past. Trust me, you rarely find any progressive person. The only thing that I might be interested in the past are projects you've done, sincerely. If I'm asking you questions, I want to ask you, what do you think are the current trends? And how do you think it will affect the future? And that's why we're having conversations about COVID-19. We're no longer talking about what has COVID-19 caused. We are saying what will COVID-19 cause. You get? So we have to evolve ourselves into seeing trends and be able to predict, predictive analytics. We need to put ourselves in that space. And the only way we can also, have access to certain information is when we have the right kind of people around us. And that's it for networking. Also, I think it's also important for us to network across. I see a lot of people when they're networking, they network with the big wigs, the guys that are maybe top guys and cool. But you need to also network with people at your level. Because sometimes, these big wigs that in code that we call, they don't have all the answers. Sometimes your colleague might just read an article, your friend might just read an article that could just be the game changer it might just be an opportunity that will be the game changer for you. So network across, every level as well. And I think the last thing I would want to mention here is be positive as much as possible. I think that's something I personally watch out for, because the way you present yourself speaks so much about how you value yourself. If you come into an interview and you are telling me about all the negative things that has happened in your life, trust me, every human being has a struggle. We all have challenges that we are going through on a day-to-day basis. I think that's very real with us here. So but when you come forward and you are telling me about, I've been in an interview before, and it's a very, very special experience for me, because it's something that I could never pass from. The candidate comes into an interview and I'm asking him, so tell me about yourself. And in 4 sentences, as he said, he had used unfortunately about himself 4 times in 4 sentences. Unfortunately, he did not get admission on time. Unfortunately, he did not get the course he was supposed to study. Unfortunately, he did not finish it in Q1. They all unfortunately just created a negative atmosphere, such that I was almost disinterested. But I just had to continue that interview because that was just the right thing to do. But not so many people might have that patience. So as much as possible, be positive about yourself. Don't tell all the things that have gone wrong. Even if you're going to say, oh, you know what, even though I did not get the course I wanted to study, I took extra effort to develop interest in different areas. I took extra effort to learn more about this thing I'm doing, and that is why I'm practicing it today. So as much as possible, be positive. I think that's like the 4 things I just want to share at this time. So I just a over time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Samuel. Honestly, that is just in a way, I feel that's kind of like the expo that our trainees and some of our participants need. It's very, very true. As in, you said something. Tell a story about yourself. You don't necessarily have to tell a story about how you just a story that is personable and likable, that the panel can relate with, and be positive. Being positive actually shows how much you value yourself. I love the example you gave where people say use the word unfortunately. Sometimes we also have to take note of some of those words that we use when we introduce ourselves or when we talk about ourselves. Those are the things that we should actually look out for. Thank you very much, Mrs. Samuel, for that very, very insightful one.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Michael was there. I'm back to you, sir. And I think I want to ask a question because I know you are the head of data strategy and growth data science Nigeria. So these are things that you are very conversant with. So, Mr. Michael was there. My question is this: what skills, abilities, and personal attributes are essential for success as an aspiring data scientist? And what should I do to improve my career prospects? Now, I know that Mr. Samuel has kind of like touched on some of these things, in the previous questions, but we just want to also know your take too. So, in terms of the skills, in terms of abilities, personal attributes, what are those things that are what are the attributes and abilities and skills that are very essential for an aspiring data scientist now in the field, and what should they do to improve their career prospects?
Okay, all right. Thank you for that question. So I would say a few things here. So data science is a very interesting field, and there are so many skill sets involved. There are so many skill sets involved in this field of data science. So as an aspiring data scientist, I think to start with, you must learn the basics, which are the tools. What are the key tools that are being in use? And not just learning tools for tools' sake, but what are the relevant tools that are applicable out there? I see a lot of young data scientists going to learn very complex things, and I tell them, okay, when you go to the industry, they are not going as complex as this. They are just still dealing with the simple things as small as Oracle SQL. They are not even, most industries are not even as advanced as using Python and R. They are still even dealing with the basic SQL. If you go to banking, if you go to telecoms, they are still using basic SQL for most of their analysis or their data science related work. So it comes to what are the tools you need that the industry, so you first things first, what are the tools that are applicable out there that people are currently using? So that you don't just go and learn something that is not relevant to the world. It means that it's just like you are being trained for what is not relevant. You wasted your time, you wasted your knowledge, and that skill is not relevant in that industry or in most industries. So you must know what you are learning, and you must know what is applicable out there. So learning your tools, your programming tools, is very keen, very key. You must ensure that those things are very, very. You go out there, research what is applicable, talk to friends, talk to people in industry, have mentors in those places, ask them what softwares do they use, what programming languages do they use in those industries, what is the most prominent one that they take advantage of or that they currently use that you can start applying or you can start learning now. So in the area of programming tools, it's very key. Also, as a data scientist, you must also learn how to tell stories. Storytelling is a very key. That is where we come to the heart of data science, because it's if you do all the technical work and you can talk about all the technical aspect of data science, and you don't know how to tell your story, or you don't know how to present to a board or to a management of a company that this is what you can do, then that your skill set is not relevant, or that your skill set will not be properly appreciated to the people in that industry or to the people you are speaking to. So you must know how to tell stories, and storytelling involves a lot of things. It involves two things, and let me summarize the two things. It involves visualization, and it involves communication. So how, as a data scientist, can you visualize what you're saying? Your stories are more powerful when you can communicate. That is, you say something in audio and people can see a picture. So whatever your words are, words that you're saying, and the picture you are painting, they must tell a perfect story that anybody that is listening to would see your visualization and also understand you taking them through that visualization through a storytelling process that is compelling, that is emotional, that can drive this change or the action you want them to take at the end of that presentation. So as a data scientist, that skill is very, very important, and it's something I usually encourage all young data scientists to have in mind, that don't just learn the tools, then learn how to tell your stories. Learn how, because if you don't tell your stories, you can be in an organization and that your efforts is not really well appreciated. Let me give you a story. There were two data scientists I know, and they were shortlisted for an internship. We shortlisted them for an internship in a company, and they went there and they were excited. Oh, we are data science. Oh, we are interning in one of the top companies in Nigeria. They were so excited and they started their work there. So it's supposed to be a 3-month internship, and it's all paid, all expense paid internship. They were very excited. And these are young guys just finishing school. They've not even gone for NYSC. So they started work and they were excited. So, but 2 months down the line, I visited that company to just go and check. Oh, let me see how they're doing. You know what? I saw them just relegated to one corner. They just kept them in one office. They were just there alone, while others were sitting on the floor. They were just there alone, just doing their data science work. And one of the key things I saw is that they looked very depressed, and they weren't looking happy. I was like, these are the excited guys we selected. Why are they looking this disgruntled and unhappy? And I told my colleagues something. I said, if you don't understand the context of the industry where you are, you cannot really impact or create any impact with your knowledge or your skill in data science. Industry context also matters a lot. So as you are learning, you must go on and keep engaging people in the industry. What are the experiences? What are the problems they are facing? What is that industry all about? So if you talk about banking, what is banking all about? What are the necessary things every bank needs to put in place that would help them in their business, and how can you solve their problem? Those are some of the things that that must come in place. So we are also talking about things around. I've talked about industry context. I've talked about visualization and storytelling. I've talked about tools. Also in the area of things like machine learning, where you understand patterns and you do predictions. A whole lot of people in the industry want to understand that part. And then also in the area of as a young data scientist, you must be analytical. That analytical mindset, that mindset of working on things and being able to change perception, being able to change the storyline around a thing, because you have the fact, you have the data that is speaking to it. You must have that analytical mind, that mind that is very, very open to really telling a story and to really showing people the insight around data. So your mathematical skills also come in strong here, or your statistical skills come in very strong here. A lot of people, when they get data science, it involves mathematics. Oh, they want to run away. But today, there are a lot of new tools that you don't even need to code. Talking about big ML, you don't really need to code. You can just punch in your data into those software, and they can give you all the prediction. And you can take that prediction, analyze it, then go and present to your clients or go and present to whoever you are reporting to in that space. So I think those skill set needs to be well combined, and you must understand that industry context storytelling is very key. Without industry context, your knowledge without proper contextualization is not relevant to anyone. Whatever you know in banking might not be, some of them might be applicable to telecoms, but not all. The terminologies, the problems, even the operational flow or service flow of those industries differ. So you must know that the databases you are dealing with will be called different names. So what you are used, but the main thing is once you understand the baseline, you stand a chance to be able to fit into any of those spaces. But once you start having context with industries, you now become a guru. You now become a well sought after expert in those areas, and that with that they can really pick you on point, and you can start gaining a whole lot of growth in your career.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Michael. I'm just so glad because all what our panelists have said so far, it all ties in together. What you just made mention of about understanding the industry context. It also ties in with what Mrs. Samba said earlier about network and position yourself. Speak with people in the industry. What are those new things in that industry that is applicable to that industry? And you learn learn the basics. It also ties into what Mr. Michael Kalu also said. When he said that master the basics. You can learn the process, but master the basics as well. At the end of the day, there are some firms, some of them don't even say they don't have visualization tools. Maybe they still use PowerPoint. And what if you don't know how to use ThinkCell, for instance? What are you going to do? It's funny because I personally have met a data analyst who could use Tableau, who could use Power BI, but didn't know how to create a simple slide. I was shocked. It was just that funny. So sometimes you also have to master the basics, understand the relevance of the industry where you are operating. And at the end of the day, our panelists have all said basically the same thing: storytelling. I think that's one key strategy that we all must take, at least as we venture into this post-COVID world, telling your stories with data that can relate with clients, with organizations. So yes, thank you very much, Mr. Samuel, for that insightful piece. So yes, I'm going to go to Mr. Kalu now, Mr. Michael Kalu, and we had a question come in from one of our participants, and the person actually asked and said, "Please, what are the most exciting niche in the artificial intelligence space that data scientists should look out for?" Since artificial intelligence is this big thing now, what are those things that data scientists should look out for in the field of, in that artificial intelligence space?
All right, thank you very much for this question. Wow, if you've visited any of the health institutions during this lockdown, you would observe something. You would observe that they attend to you in a way that is not exciting. I don't know if it's because they are afraid that you might inflict them or afflict them, right? Or they are doing that because they have an express instruction from the regulators to limit engagement with patients. But whichever one it is, you would not be excited to visit any of the health service providers, hospitals in question, especially. So what does this bring us to, right? So imagine someone who has use AI, right, to build a solution that contributes, that helps with prescriptions. Because whether you like it or not, someone said we were created in bunches as human beings. That means we share certain similarities based on categorizations. So there are people that have similar genomes, there are people that have similar DNAs, and similar DNAs share similar proclivities to certain environments. When I mean certain environments, when you expose certain DNAs to extreme temperature, they behave in similar ways. When you expose certain DNAs to certain levels of pressure, they behave in similar ways. So that is a basic thing, right? That's I mean, when I say learn the basic, master the principles that govern certain things. When you master those principles, you can apply them in a lot of different use cases. So imagine someone that understands this and applies AI, right, to build a system where you just log in, right, put the result of your test, and it will prescribe a drug for you without you needing to go to any hospital, right? So when we have this kind of lockdowns, people will not feel that pressure of wanting to go to the hospital because they have your system that they can use. And that's one. So application in medicine, right? Where we can rely on everything from genetic makeup to past medical history to diagnose and prescribe. So we have companies that are already doing that. We don't have anyone, I don't think so, that are doing, something in that space in Nigeria. We have people who are using, AI for HMOs, health management organizations, but there's nobody that is doing this exact stuff in Nigeria. To have companies like Temples that are doing it in the US, right? So it's a huge opportunity. And then in the insurance space, there is a policy we call machinery breakdown and business interruption. These are two different policies in the insurance space. And these policies are we usually underwrite these policies for organizations, oil and gas organizations that use heavy machines that are meant to run like for 24/7. So for such machines, when incidentally they break down, right? So this insurance policy is meant to cover for potential revenue loss due to this breakdown. So imagine if you come up with an algorithm, right, that can help these companies predict when their machines are meant to go bad, right? I know, right, in companies like Shell that they started applying this. So you predict when these machines are meant to go bad. So instead of waiting till these machines now go bad and people start running helter-skelter, right, you can let them know when these machines are meant to go bad. Adequate planning, right, and resources will be deployed to ensure that the impact of the breakdown will not be as huge as it would be when planning was not done. So in manufacturing or in mega production outfits, right, AI is being applied. In medicine, AI is being applied, right, to analyze and then to prescribe appropriate treatment for issues. And then in things like, I call it traffic management and security. In my place of work, we had a very big challenge with our past data. So we have lots and lots and lots of data. We have lots and lots and lots of data that are stored in a huge archive, right? And we're speaking with a couple of vendors, right, to help us come up with a solution that can help us translate this data into a database using AI tools, right? Deep learning tools, which are part of AI, right? Neural network solutions, which are part of AI, to just translate this in. So we have this data sitting. As I speak with you now, they are still sitting because we've had conversations with a few entities in Nigeria, right, who we feel that will be able to help us translate this. But the best they can do for us is to move this data to what we call PDF formats. Sorry, I said PDF format, JPEG formats, and PNG formats, and you can't use this for good analytics. We need you to extract it into, let's say, formats like Excel, so that we can query and slice and dice this data. So I want to believe that my company is not alone in this challenge. There are lots and lots of companies that have this data sitting somewhere in some storage facilities that you can make sense out of. But you see, most times by the time you pay a visit to these storage facilities and see how abandoned, right, unexciting these storage facilities are, the energy to make these things happen, you lose them. So we have opportunities in these places. So I once discussed with Blessing. I once asked him a question. I once said, do we have a place where we can get data, right? So let's say data for all the cars, right, that are in Lagos, and the frequency of road usage, let's say in places like Third Mainland Bridge, frequency of road usage in places like Lekki Ekpe Expressway, frequency of road usage in places like what's it called? In places like Ikorodu Road, right? So one of the things that it will do is that you will be able to provide insight for people like billboard owners, even people that want to do this kind of billboard advertisement, people that want to do the advertisement, and the billboard owners themselves. Provide them intelligence that will help their decision on where to invest money in if they want to pay for billboard spaces. Most times, people do estimations, right? Estimations that are, in quote, they claim is close to the exact. But because we don't have intelligent tools that can help us pick this exact data, right, and help companies take decisions. So there are opportunities in medicine. There are opportunities in traffic management and security, right? There are opportunities in manufacturing and production outfits, right? To help people predict when machines will go bad. And even in the insurance space, right? There are opportunities in what we call claim analytics, right? Right now, if we want to be able to, let's say, for those of us in the insurance industry, to underwrite business based on certain insight that will come from understanding the use of certain cars. So it goes beyond knowing, picking up the reports, right? Picking up the report of when the car was involved in an accident, but understanding the workings of the machines, right? Through deep learning, understanding the workings of the machines to know when these machines have gotten to a point where you need to maintain them, even for car owners, right? So it will give some level of empowerment to the car owners. So you go to a mechanic understanding when you need to do some things beyond what your meters are telling you, because most times the meters can be tampered with and the meters can be faulty. So these are places where we can have and take advantage of opportunities in the insurance industry, right? In the medical industry, in the traffic management and security space, and in the production outfits. Recently, Total and Mobi started, hiring folks who have expertise in AI, because they know, right, to some extent, this is the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Wow. I hope people were taking notes because, he kind of, Mr. Michael Kalu kind of gave us like, insider knowledge as to some of the things that we should be looking out for, especially in the artificial intelligence space. And he has given us a lot. I hope we all, take a cue or, some things from what he has said and maybe act on them. I don't know. He spoke about the manufacturing sector, medicine, the health sector. They are in dire need of AI knowledge or AI services, traffic management and security, production. What Mr. Michael Kalu said about data just sitting somewhere and people are not just making use of it. I did a brief stint in the government sector, and I can attest to that fact. They just have loads and loads and loads of data packing dust somewhere. But if you have a solution, if you come up with something, some artificial intelligence tool, that can help extract data and derive useful insight, that would be so perfect. So thank you very much again, Mr. Kalu, for that wonderful one. Yes, so I'm gonna go to Mr. Samuel. So, Mr. Samuel, I have this question actually came up, and at first I was like, okay, maybe, but I feel like this is something that we should address because I know it is in the hearts and the minds of a lot of our participants today. Now, we had a story of one of our, you know, one of graduates, or let me say a young aspiring data scientist who just finished school and applied for a data scientist job. no experience whatsoever, but he knew everything. He knew how to go about it. He knew the tools. He had actually worked on some, projects by the side, but because he didn't have the number of years of experience, even though he knew all that, what the job role was all about. And of course, they did not pick him. And it's something we see, across all industries, basically. You have to have 10 years work experience or 20 years work experience, and you must be below the ages of 26. It's just funny, and those are the things we see. So what advice do you have for data scientists that are faced with that huge challenge of, okay, I know this thing, I've worked on some, I've volunteered before, but I don't really have the number of the years of experience. So what should I do? What advice do you have concerning this, sir?
Okay, great. Thank you very much for this question. And I would share a few things that are pretty practical there. So for me, this is one of the first that let me even share an experience or example. So there was someone recently, this guy came to Nigeria, the founder of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, came to Nigeria sometime last year. And while he came, he met with some guy on Twitter. There is this function on Twitter, quoted reply, where if someone posts a tweet and you mention quoted replies in the reply to that tweet, it will show you all the tweets that were quoted on that original tweet. Again, this function was built by a Nigerian, and Twitter from the head office saw that this is a function that is really, really useful to them. Note, it did not apply for a job there. It just did something that added value, to their system. And when they came to Nigeria, they offered him employment, and he's working with Twitter as an employee now. Okay, that is a dream job for an average, tech person. Okay, so that's just an example I'm trying to find. That sometimes you don't have to wait for that opportunity. Sometimes you need to create opportunities even for ourselves. And the interesting thing about data science is that you could reach out to organizations like the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, for example, to ask them, ask for data from them, see what they are doing there. You can analyze several data, and we have social media today that can even help you share your work. I've seen people that, photographers that have gotten jobs just by posting their pictures online. I've seen design guys that have posted, gotten jobs by posting their jobs online. And I know someone that got a job, all he did was, interpret data using infographics. I'm sure we know what infographics are. He interpreted data using infographics, but you can just see it straight there. 4 out of 10 people are this. And, he just did it, I think, around gender inequality rather, in regards to pay then. And that was wow. I can't remember the international organization that snapped him up to say, what, you are doing great work around you. So sometimes we just need to put ourselves out there. That's the first thing to do. Be so good, put yourself out there. Be good first off, know your stuff. And as you said, the person knows their stuff already. So be so good, and you're putting yourself out there that they can't ignore you. I think that's like the important thing. I currently work with PwC, and I remember some 5-6 years ago that I was trying to get to work with PwC. And average, it was a graduate dream to work with a multinational with a big four back then. And I was trying to get in, and it was pretty difficult. And I just let it go, and I just said, okay, let me just focus on my career at this time and see how I can add value to myself, and also add value to others around me. And trust me, I just dropped the whole idea of big four then. I went with a smaller firm where I realized that I could get my hands dirty and learn more, even more than those that are working at the big four, because I will do much more than them because they are probably specialized. And 3-4 years down the line, I did not apply for a job there. They reached out to me. They reached out to me, to that they need someone like myself. So what I'm just saying is, don't focus too much on the external. Focus first even on yourself. How can I add value, even passively, such that I'll be recognized in the profession I'm practicing? I got recognized last year as a 4.6 global HR and sincerely I did not see it coming. I was just only sharing content around HR and trying to present HR as an incredible profession and one that is really meaningful to adding business value. And that was what I was really particular about, and about practicing it right, being ethical around it. And that was what I was all about. And people just saw my work and were like, okay, this guy is doing something right. And the nominations just went. But what I'm just trying to say here is sometimes you don't have to wait for opportunities to create them. That's like my first point. So you get, if it's infographics, you can do it. If it is data visualization, just look out for an organization that has a reputable brand, even if it's for you to volunteer, to position yourself. Please go ahead and do it. I have a friend that went to work with the World Bank. When she started her career as a program manager, as a volunteer with United Nations Volunteer, UNV. And she was working with them virtually. She was not even going anywhere. But by the time she had worked for about 6 months on different projects, when she sent in her profile to the World Bank, they were too excited to have her because, number one, she had aligned herself with a top brand. That, they trust that anybody that has worked with this brand understands and knows certain things there. So that's how you can also leverage. There's to leverage on, brands around you. That's another thing. Another thing I would want to reiterate again is, network. Networking is very important. You have access to opportunities. Sometimes a lot of us wait for, to be invited to interviews before we present ourselves for interviews. One thing I always advise on professionals to do is we have LinkedIn, we have Twitter. The funniest thing is we don't use social media effectively. I think many people abuse people on social media than, using it for the benefits of what it can be used for. For example, you have Donald Trump, you have Michelle Obama, you have Barack Obama, you have all these influential people in this world. And top professionals on social media, they're just a message away from you. You get. I've seen people get jobs from, just a tweet. I've seen people get jobs from just a LinkedIn DM. Reach out to people that you aspire to be like. Reach out to organizations, that you want to work at. Just send a message. Don't ask them for a job. Just ask them for an informational interview. I love to work with your organization, but at this time, I just want to know what it will take for me to prepare myself. That's just it. Ask them questions. What's your culture like? What are the skills I need to develop? What are the traits you look out for in people? This can also give you some sense of direction. Regarding maybe areas that you are not even seeing. The thing is, an average human being, we all have blind spots. There are areas of ourselves that we do not see. We can also ask people around us, what do they consider to be our strengths? Or, in quotes, areas to develop, improvement areas that we can get better at. Might just be that guy. I know someone that's very, very good at what he does. But the only challenge was that, he's pretty introverted. So his presentation skills was not fantastic. And he was trying to go into investment, you get. And in that career space, for example, whenever you are being engaged as an investment analyst or associate, you want you to present data. They want you to look at certain trends, certain business trends. What do you forecast? Okay. And his presentation skills were not great. And that was the challenge. So whenever I got to that stage, he could not communicate properly, the business value, the meaning of the data. He could not forecast properly. He understood what he was saying, but he could not just convince, the audience. And that was when someone just said that I think you should improve on your presentation skills. And that was the game changer. And this guy is working with it. Goldman Sachs right now, in the US. Yeah. And that was just a game changer. So we also need to look around ourselves. I think so many people focus on what we do not have, that we lose touch with what we even have. With regard to the network we have, with regard to people that can give us feedback, with regard to what we can do even with our spare time. Yeah. Put your work out there. Let people see what you are doing. Be so good. Position yourself first that you are so good that they can't ignore you. I think that's what I would say. And on the basic side of it, have a very good resume. Sell yourself very well on your resume, sell yourself very well on the cover letter. Own your interviewing skills as much as possible. Don't oversell such that, you overpromise and you cannot deliver. Be true to yourself. But as much as possible, the only way you can have value to sell, the only way you can have a story to tell is if you are doing something right now. So, I think you just make the best use of your time, while preparing yourself for that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Samuel. Those were very, very valid points, of course. And, just to go over some of the things you said, and I think that is one of the important things you said too is, hone your interview skills and don't oversell. Presentation skills too. It's one thing for you to know all about the industry and your roles and your functions, but if you don't know how to present it in a nice way, then you might be overlooked. Create opportunities for yourself. I think that's another thing too. I think I was talking to a friend of mine 10 years ago, 15 years ago. We didn't really have social media, so that was the time where there's a job opening and you see 20,000 people apply and everyone is rushing. But now you have social media. You can always reach out to an organization and say, oh, I would like to do this analytics work for you. Even if they might be skeptical about releasing their information, you can get to the public data that is published online, do something really grand and send it to them and see, just create opportunities for yourself and network to that. Also another important one. I think one thing about data science, most data scientists, well, I may be wrong, but okay, let me say some of them are very introverted. They love to stay on their own and just in their little clique and with their other fellow data scientists, but you have to expand your horizon and network and reach out to other people as well. So Mr. Samuel, thank you very, very much for that. Mr. Michael, I'm coming to you, sir. So there's this question that came into, in fact, like a couple of participants sent in the same question. Um, and the question goes like this, very simple. How has data science field, well, we all know, but how has the data science field changed in the past 5 years? And where do you see the industry going in the future? Basically, what is the future of data science? What does the future hold for us all? So that's the question. And yes, sir, I want to throw it to you, Mr. Michael.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. It's a very intelligent one. I think the data science industry has really evolved in the past 5 years. So, like I mentioned, when I see what things like people like Octave Analytics, Data Science Nigeria also started in 2016. Like well, people think, oh, we've been here for so long. Just very recently that we started, just 3, 4 years ago, that data science started. And the industry has really transformed in the last 5 years. There's so much appreciation for data science now, unlike when it first started and it was picking ground and people were just beginning to understand, oh, what is data science? That was the first thing. So it was just a buzzword in the air as of 2016, and a lot of people started thinking about it. Some were already going into it. Some people had the skills and they started learning all the ropes on data science. And major companies started rising up in the area of data science, data analytics in the last 5 years. Today, we've seen more and more companies evolve, a whole lot of startups in the area of data science and artificial intelligence come on board because that's now the new, if I look at how things have evolved in Nigeria, I remember back then when I was in school, early 2000s, and in our time then it was networking, CCNA, CCMP, whatever, everybody was rushing into that. Then after that, there was a huge new wave of project management. Oh, everybody was, oh, there's a new wave. Project management is a key thing now. I'm going to learn how to manage projects. I'm going to learn how to do this. That also happened. Then after that, we moved into the wave of software development. Oh, developing mobile apps, developing websites. That was another phase again. And the last phase, which we are currently in now, is the phase of data science and artificial intelligence. I think this field has really evolved because in just 5 years, we've seen companies rise up, hire a lot of talent. Training is really going on a massive scale. At Data Science Nigeria, we want to train 1 million youths in the area of data science in the next 10 years. So we are very keen to train more people, develop people to skills. And a lot of people are learning as our students. They're just currently just learning what data science actually is, and industries are also trying to catch up in terms of implementing data science with their existing structure. Banks are just setting up data science department or data analytics department. Telecoms has had it for a while, and they are building more, going deeper in the area of data science in prediction and in many other areas where data science can be applied in telecoms. So I see the field as a field with so much prospect because in just 4 years, 3, 4 years, you've seen companies like Data Science Nigeria, Octave Analytics, so many companies evolve from scratch, from zero. Not like there was anything to fall back on, not like there was anybody that has done this before that they could look at. But you've seen them come up from nowhere and they're doing well, they're employing talents, they are training more people, they're enriching the industries with a whole lot of development that is going on now. So it is very key that the future of data science is still very much big. We are still going to see a whole lot of complex adaptation of the concepts and the science and the art of data science in various industries. So many more people will still come into this. So if you are coming into data science now, you are still very lucky because these are still the early stages. Because as I mentioned, most companies started 3, 4 years ago. So these are still the early stages, and it has not even gotten to that maturity stage yet, where you will now start seeing a decline. But at this point, anybody jumping into this field now, you are in the right place at the right time, and it's an opportunity that you should take advantage of very well. Because in the next 5 years, most things that you need in terms of data science tools and structures would now be very much open to many people to learn and to use. And you can now take advantage of those things to say, okay, we were pioneers in this space. We were the people that started this thing. You will have gained more experience. You will have gained more knowledge, practical and theoretical, and you will have evolved over the years in the next 5 years. So there's so much room for people to still take advantage. Those that are jumping in now, you're in the right space because there are not a lot of people with this skill set. The skill sets are scarce. If you say, oh, you want to employ a data scientist, you will struggle with a lot of interviews. You will interview plenty of people before you finally get one person that can do what you want to do. And that shows you that the opportunity lies there. So anyone that can develop themselves or train themselves or get trained in the right areas and can position themselves out there, like Samuel was talking about, positioning yourself, let people know what you can do, because you can have all the skills, and if nobody knows you, like the Bible says, you don't light a lamp and put it under a bushel. You don't just keep it somewhere and nobody sees it or nobody. So if nobody's seeing what you can do, you might not really be heard or recognized, and that could lead to a lot of frustrations. So data science, I've seen progress in the last 5 years. I've seen progress in industries like telecommunications in the last 5, 10 years. In the last 5 years, in telecommunications, we are still giving out 15 MB, 10 MB. Now we're talking about gigabytes. We are buying data in gigabytes. Nobody's talking about MB again. We are buying data in gigabytes. So it tells you that data is evolving. A lot of companies are beginning to see the essence of data. Our complexity as humans is also evolving. So it means that we need more data to analyze human behavior. We need more data to analyze transactions. We need people that can analyze transactions. Because now, prior to 2015, I would say I was just on internet banking. Now, today, you have USSD banking, you have mobile banking, you have internet banking, you have all sorts of applications that can help you do financial transactions. And all these applications are generating data on a daily basis. And this data is very useful. They are very valuable data, which can generate insight and that can lead to creation of more products, that can increase revenue for businesses, that can help them streamline their operations and know what is working and not working. So many things can be generated. So our life is becoming more complex every day. So it tells you where this thing is going. Today, I would say I have more than 4 or 5 devices in front of me. I have 2 phones. I have a laptop. I have another tablet around me here. And each of these devices are all generating data, all doing connected to the internet. So we are going into the age of connectivity, where data connections will be so complex. Devices speaking with devices, machines speaking to machines. So how can you harness all that together, both for learning, both for businesses, both for just normal societal development or societal good? How can you harness all this level of data around? You can see platforms like Facebook with billions of users generating data every day. Instagram, every activity you do on social media is data that is recorded and stored on one server. Those information never get cleaned. It's not destroyed. Even when you press delete, it's still stored somewhere. So those data is still available everywhere. So you know that this data is very useful. So if they want to profile you at this moment, they can just quickly go through your social media account and see all the tweets or the posts you've been doing for the last 10 years. And they can tell you this is the kind of person you are, because all that data is around there on the internet. So there's so much use for data. In fact, the use cases we've seen now is just a scratch of the surface in the area of data science. So many use cases are coming up every day, and this industry has so much potential. Now, those that are right there, right now, and can see the opportunities are those that will really benefit from this in the next 5 years and in the future.
Thank you so much, Mr. Michael. That was just, yes, that's basically it. That's basically it. And you said something that was, that's very, very true. I remember back then too, and back in the days when we were in school, it was all CCNA, and I remember a lot of people were, then there was a wave that came, and it was all about website development, and that one left, and now we're in this wave. But the good thing about it is that it's not leaving. moving anytime soon. This industry is, it's still in its early phases, so there's room for growth, there's room for transformation. All we just have to do is expand our horizon. There's talk about 5G, for instance. So imagine when they launch 5G properly all over the world. They will be talking about virtual reality. It's possible, I don't know, but it could be possible that you have a meeting in your house and a hologram comes up in front of you and it's your boss and you guys are having a meeting like that. That's the future that we're actually seeing right now. And it's just for us to position ourselves so that we can actually benefit from this new expanding world of data science. So thank you very much, Mr. Samuel. So I just want to quickly say that if you do have questions, please type them in the comment section below. You can type in your questions. And we have a question in our comment section by one of our trainees. And I want to direct this question to Mr. Michael Kalu. And I think this is a lot of people fall in this category, a lot of people. So his question is, what advice do you have for interns, that we the interns, trying to go into a different industry, different from our educational background as beginners? I know that our panelists, I know two of our panelists studied biochemistry. I know Mr. Michael Kaluso, but I would love Mr. Kaluso to just, touch on this question. So what are your thoughts, sir?
All right, thank you very much for that question from Henry Diogo Sita. Frankly, this is not new, right? The first person I ever knew that was into programming studied electrical electronics engineering. The first person I ever knew in my life. I remember that guy's journey. He's one of the biggest programmers in this town now. So I remember his journey very vividly. He used to work in a manufacturing plant. Some of us who know way back, there's a company called Michelin. Their products are still around, but they are no longer in Nigeria. Then they used to be in Nigeria. Michelin, they produce tires. So he used to work in their manufacturing plant as a metering engineer. Then somehow, I don't know how he just managed to get this notch. And before we knew what was happening, he got himself a desktop computer. I remember vividly also a white desktop computer. And then himself and his friend, they were now taking turns to learn programming and to code, to learn programming and to code. And before you knew what was happening, he tendered his resignation. Then it sounded like the most stupid decision that anybody would take, because then Michelin was cool. But this guy resigned, and as I speak with you now, he has done jobs for IBM. He has done jobs for big multinationals, programming jobs. So what do I say to this guy who wants to transition? I'll repeat what I said in my first submission. Learn the act of deep work. Learn the act of saying no to distractions. First, if you don't do that from your foundation stage, it will haunt you when you grow, or when you have made your progress to the next phase. Learn the act of deep work. Learn to focus on the essentials. Right. So you've answered the question of, this is what I want to do, this is why I want to do it. Then the next thing is, what are those things I must say no to? Right? Because to succeed in every field, it will come at a cost. Part of the price you have to pay is saying no to the non-essentials. And trust me, there will always be things that will call for your attention. So learning the act of deep work is to say no to those things that will demand for your attention, right? So let's say you want to move and then take a career in analytics, as the bulk of us have done. By the way, the guy that sits next to me, right, who is doing a similar job, the guy studied chemistry, right? But you need to understand that it will take you certain number of man hours that you deploy consistently, right, to acquire these skills and to gain mastery. Mastery comes at a point. Let me borrow one of the words of one of those guys who inspire us on the journey of mastery. He said, and I quote, he said that you see, these skill sets, they are not inborn, they are not natural. Focus, nobody was born with focus. Everybody that you see that has mastered the act of focus and deep work is a product of training, right? So most times when your friends are hanging out, right? Most times when your friends are busy discussing Nigerian politics, when they're busy discussing Arsenal, right? Discussing the latest transfer windows, right? So you have to take the deliberate decision, right? To zoom in and stay zoomed in. If you learn this skill, you will thank this forum, right? 10 years after now. If you will thank this forum 10 years after now, because the product of deep work will always be legendary. The product of deep work. The truth is, there are so many people that are battling with different distractions. To them, they might think these are the things that I invoke. But you see, the people who do deep work in this space, they are not many. I will repeat it, they are not many. The kind of deep work that will not just stand the test of time in this country, let me borrow the words of somewhere, but will also be sellable outside this country. You heard Samuel's submission on the guy that developed a component for Twitter that got himself an employment in Twitter. You see, that is a product of deep work. You don't do it with being everywhere with everybody. No. You do it with zooming in, right? And paying attention to those basics that you've mastered, right? Master the basic and pay attention to those basics that you master. Because as you do your permutation and combination of code and scripts, right, it will take mastery of the basics to excel at it. And you don't gain mastery without zooming in and doing deep work. So it is not about the number of programming languages that you know. It's not about the number of tools and solutions that you know. It's not about the number of processes that you know, but your ability to gain mastery of the basics. It will always make you stand out. I say this with every sense and every fiber of my being. It will always make you stand out. Just before this meeting started, I was in a conversation with somebody. I told the person, I said, look, so there are two things that anybody will use. I call them leverages. Two leverages that every human being, right? If you take advantage of these leverages, you will always be at the top. The first one is relationships, right? If you are in relationship with the right people, you always have an edge. Always have an edge. Samuel also mentioned it. The second one is superior skill sets. Wherever the mediocre stop, those that have superior skill sets will be invited. And of course, you can't come into that sphere without having a fat check follow you out of it. So superior skill set, and it comes from the place of deep work. If you find an opportunity to come, to have discussions with the Bill Gates, the Mark Zuckerbergs, they will tell you that deep work is key. Now, to wrap up this section, I would recommend one book for us, right? It's titled Deep Work: Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted Work by Cal Newport. Deep Work: Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted Work by Cal Newport. Cal, C-A-L, Newport. Now, it's just to help those of us who are getting to know about deep work for the first time, or who have been doing it haphazardly. I can tell you, any endeavor you find yourself, be it HRO, be it even if you're a pastor, you need deep work to access revelations. Even if you're in fact, for those of us who do a bit of research and who do a bit, they will tell you that it is expedient if you need to provide and create values that are not just sustainable, right, but are innovative also. I hope I've answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sam. In fact, I feel you have definitely done justice to that question. And that's basically the truth. I was actually talking to someone recently, and the person have done so many online courses. And there are a bunch of them out there on Udemy, on EDX, on Coursera or different programming languages and stuff, but this person had almost 20 or 30 certifications, but really didn't know anything. And I was asking, so what have you been learning? And it all boils down to the deep work that you have spoken about. Take time off distractions, especially people from, even if you study computer science, for instance, in school or not, take out that time to really focus and just hone your skills. He also made mention about fostering relationships and having superior skill sets. Where mediocre starts, that's where those with the superior skill sets actually take off. Deploy man hours. Man hours, you have to deploy them consistently, not just haphazardly, but you have to be consistent and you have to focus as well. Thank you very much, sir. So I'm going to take there's a question coming in from one of the participants, and I want to direct this question to you, Mr. Samuel. And he's saying, what advice would you give as regards postgraduate study? So this question just came into our the chat. So Mr. Samuel, what advice would you give? I think he's also in the field of data science as well. So what advice would you give as regards postgraduate study? Hello, Mr. Samuel. I think you're on mute.
Oh yeah, sorry, don't mind me. Sorry, I did not even figure that out on time.
No problem. No problem.
Okay, so with regards to postgraduate studies, this is a personal opinion. I always believe people need to get work experience, before they proceed to postgraduate studies. And the reason it is required is because you understand or have better context, with regards to what you're going to study. So, for example, if you want to maybe diversify to cybersecurity, if you want to diversify to machine learning, you will understand it better, even from a theoretical angle. When you have done things related to it, you will retain the knowledge more, and you'll be able to use it even after study, because you can marry real life experience, with classroom knowledge. So, for example, we always say that some universities in the world, they have better education, system or curricula, as you have it, than some, in this part of the world. And that's because they've been able to marry, current reality to classroom knowledge. Yeah, and that's why if you go to an advert, for example, they are teaching you real life case studies from, say, Fortune 500 to apply to what they are learning in class. And that's why it is relatable, because they're having conversations around, how coronavirus is affecting the workforce, how it's affecting the workplace. And that's what a typical, an HR person would do at Harvard. But bringing it home, not experience. My name is
Hello, this is Sam. I think you're breaking.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yes, it's better now.
Okay, so and even if you're going to go for it, be sure you really need it and it is relevant. You get, not all postgraduate study is relevant. I see a lot of people who apply for master's degree, MBA, and all of that because people are doing it. Is it relevant to your field of study? Look at people that are already ahead of you, doing fine in this space. Ask questions. I always say don't do it because everybody is doing it. Be deliberate about your own development as well. Don't do it because everybody is doing it. Yeah, that's because it might just be a waste of time and money when you go and do it and realize that it does not even give you an edge or an advantage after you have done it. Be sure that it's going to give you an edge. If it's a technical, practice that you want to delve into, great, and it's going to give you an edge. Do it, but you need to be able to identify a minimum of 3 values aside from the new knowledge. You get, yes, it's providing with new knowledge, but what can that new knowledge do for you? That's the next question I'll be asking you. Is it going to give you an edge so that so for example, if a person goes for an MBA, by the time you come out from an MBA at a reputable school, it increases your earning potential. The second thing, because of the quality of people you might have met during that program, your network would have grown broader as you have it there. So you need to understand why you are even going for a postgraduate degree beyond the knowledge you get. Why am I going for it? I think that's my own contribution regarding postgraduate study.
Thank you very much, Mr. Samuel, and that is super true. I have, of course, it's something we see in the industry every day, and I'm definitely, yes, I subscribe to someone just having like relevant work experience and also knowing exactly what you want to do. before going for a postgraduate study. It helps, it puts everything in focus for you. So yes, thank you very much, sir, for that very insightful one. So I think because of our time, we have room for just one question. So I guess what we will do is, if you have a question, please raise your hand, and we'll just take one person, one question before we call it a day. So if you have a question, please signify by a show of hands, and we will send your questions, target your questions to the panelists so that your questions can be answered. So does anyone have a question? Wow. Okay. Yes, Ebube Okoli. Yeah, yeah, the lucky one. So yes. So Ebube, you can unmute your mic and you can ask your question.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much, Tim Togwe. Thank you very much, Mr. Michael, Mr. Samuel, Mr. Michael too. It was really a very wonderful session. Thank you for enlightening us today. So basically my question is basic actually. I just need advice on, okay, for instance, someone is going to the field of data science or data analytics. Basically is looking into industries that are not currently prominent in Nigeria. For instance, the automobile or the maybe what's astronomy or something like that. So areas like that are not prominent in Nigeria per se. So, but then the person wants to start off here basically because he doesn't have the chance to move out outright. So he just wants to start off here and gain some experience in all those areas and get himself ready before probably getting the opportunity to go out. So would it be advisable for someone to, when the person is presented or the person is facing an interview or facing a panel or something where he needs to get an opportunity, is it wonderful or advisable to give or to speak about those future intentions to potential interviewers or potential employers, and make them understand that fully well that he's not planning to stay there for as long as they might expect? So see, when usually they ask questions like, where do you see yourself in 5 years, or what are your future plans or something? So is it advisable to give those plans or hints of those ideas when you are faced with an interview, or you just keep them blank on those areas? That's basically my question.
Okay, thank you very much, Ebube. So I want to direct this. At first, I wanted to direct this question to Mr. Michael, but I believe that this is also an HR question. So, Mr. Samuel, what are your thoughts about this? Especially regarding the HR aspect of his question, and I will have Mr. Michael also share his thoughts too with what Ebube has.
Okay. Yes, I believe it's very, very right with his assertions. And what I would say here is that, yes, as an HR person, we are well aware there are several things that are shaping and changing the workplace that we have today. And one of it is, multi-generations in the workplace. And what do I mean here? We have people that are like 16 years old, 17 years old coming into the workplace today, for internships. We have, millennials, we have Gen Z, we have about 4 generations, going to 5 right now in the workplace. And with all these 5 different generations comes different behaviors, and they need to manage these people differently. So we are well aware of how, the generational changes have also changed what people want from work. Before now, people used to get refrigerators, radios for 10 years work experience, with an organization, long service award. But we realize that we are now moving from 10 years award to 5 years. We went from 10 years to 5 years. Organizations are now celebrating people for even spending 1 year, because we realize that people now have more access to information and they can change jobs easily and faster. And our generation is even more interested. We're an interesting bunch, because the moment another exciting thing comes up, you have moved, even if it's 6 months you spend there. So organizations are aware of this, and any progressive organization and well-structured organization, I'll use that. They are well aware that they even want people that are ambitious. If you are going to spend 6 months here, we want to ensure that 6 months you are going to add value. If it is just 6 months, I always share this experience that Steve Jobs was a game changer at Apple. If Steve Jobs had spent 6 months, and made that change that brought them to where they are today, it is not about the length of time spent. It's about the value or the impact of the value that the person has added. And organizations are now well aware of it. That's why we have performance management systems that can measure value real time as we have it. So yes, I would say be able to communicate your ambition. Organizations even want people that have ambition. We have organizations today that are sponsor their employees, for international study, bursaries, and like. So yes, when you find yourself in an environment that can encourage, ambition, I think you should be able to share yourself. You don't even know plans that they have. I know I'm an organization where a friend communicated his plans to go for his MBA, and along the line, he initiated an employee bursary program. And he told his manager, and his manager said, "Oh yes, I was well aware." And they gave him a scholarship that he would return if he's open to returning to work with them. And fortunately, it's a big firm anyway. When he was done with MBA, he came back, and the work he did on their strategy was amazing. You get, so I think organizations are now aware of this. But as much as possible, I would also want to say, this thing, and the Bible says that wisdom is profitable to direct, and this is just very sincere. There are times where we find ourselves in places where some places might not allow full expression. I always say, don't put yourself in places that will not allow your full self-expression as much as possible. Any environment that will not aid your growth, that will not aid your ambition, don't put yourself there, because number one, some environments will just kill dreams. So you find yourself in an environment where you're not comfortable or confident in expressing your ambitions. I think it's not just the right place to be. That's just my thought. But as much as possible, when you find a progressive organization that aligns with what you want to do, be able to share with them. Also, don't just share with them your ambition. Share with them how the organization can be a part of your career journey. If it is skills you want to develop there, if it is some experience you want to gain, be able to share it so they can also expose you to the kind of things you also want. I think that's my own thought about that.
Wow. Thank you very much, Mrs. Samuel. Very, very insightful one. Thank you again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, we have 10 minutes to go, and I really want us to, just wrap things up before 3 o'clock because, again, we do have to hit this show on the road. Okay, let's see if we can quickly. Ooh, okay, this is a long question. Oh my God. So we'll just have time. Is there a way we can okay, let me read this question, and I want to target this question to Mr. Michael. If we can answer this question in about 2-3 minutes. So Mrs. Esther is saying, please, I would like to know your view on professional certification versus postgraduate degree, which is most relevant in data science field. So Mr. Michael, this is Mrs. Esther's question. What do you think? What are your thoughts concerning this? Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that question. Professional certifications as regards to postgraduate degree. I think someone said a bit about this, but I would just like to shed more light on. I will expand what Samuel had said earlier. Professional certifications are fine; they are good. Postgraduate degree are also good. Like Samuel mentioned, if a master's or a PhD is not relevant to what you're doing, you better just stick with your BSc and do professional certifications that will really boost you. I don't have a master's degree. I'm planning to do an MBA maybe later in the future. But with the experience I have now, if I go to an MBA class, I will really enrich the knowledge and I will really maximize that MBA class very well because I'm going there beyond just going to learn. I'm going there to network, create opportunities, and start a global business. So that would be my own aim of going to do an MBA degree in a top school. But in terms of is a master's relevant now to what I'm doing? No, not really, not necessarily. So you must know what is relevant to you. Then in terms of professional certification, yeah, people are also very crazy about professional certifications. And I have a friend that has a PMP, he has a certification in CCNA, he has another one in even this human resource certification. I've forgotten the name, CIPM. Aha. Yeah, they say, oh, like, okay, you're doing CIPM, you're doing CCNA, you're doing CBAB, you're just doing everything. So a lot of people are crazy about certifications, and certifications will actually get you the job, honestly. HR, like HR guys will look at, yeah, you have certification, good, but what they are keen on is experience. What can you bring to the table? What value can you bring to the table? They don't really care. The certification just helps them, okay, sort your CV and say, okay, you have this over this guy. But when it comes to the real hiring decision, it is about what can you do? What experience do you have? What value can you bring to the table? Then I would also like to clear this misconception about a whole lot of people going to do online certifications. Coursera, ADX. Those things are good in its sense. But I've spoken to a lot of HR guys, and they told me those things don't carry weight because they don't take it serious. A proper certification, if it's not from a proper institution, an HR person will be like, okay, you have a Coursera, whatever. They just think those things are just online things that people just gather. It's good for self-development. It's good for building knowledge. It's good for enriching yourself. But it's not what's going to get you the job. What's going to get you the job is hands-on experience. It is value addition. It is when you can convince the people on an interview panel to tell them, this is what I'm bringing to the table. This is why I am the best person for this job. This is the advantage I have over other candidates. When you can convince them based on what you are coming to do, that is what is going to get you the top level job you want to get. Beyond those, your certification, beyond your master's degree and whatever degree you want to put on the table, those things will just get you a foot at the interview. So when you get to the interview, you now need to convince people that are there that, yeah, you can actually do the job. Like when it comes to hiring data scientists, they will test you. Beyond just hiring you, the first stage will be, okay, they will give you a test. They will give you data sets. Oh yeah, this is an industry data. Work on this data and let's see what you can create out of it. After that stage of the interview, then they will now come to the HR part of the interview, where they will now start asking you about your competency. What can you do? What experience do you have? What value are you bringing to the table? Why should we hire you? Why are you different from candidate B, C, D? By the time they start asking you those questions, you cannot defend yourself, then those things do not really matter again. Your certification or your master's degree or your PhD do not matter again, because now they're asking you the reality. How are you different from Michael, Tokbe, and Shola? Why should they pick you over those other people? So you now need to be able to convince whoever is in that panel or that organization that you are the best person for that job. So certifications are good. If it is necessary to develop your career in that industry, good. If it is something that will give you an edge, like the DASCA certification, if you're in data science, there are not really a lot of structured certification in data science. DASCA is one of the very few certifications that is globally recognized. And if you say, okay, I want to be a data scientist, but I want to be globally recognized, then you can go for the DASCA certification, since you want to be a data scientist. Not just because, oh, you're looking for a job and you just want one certification that will give you a job. Oh, let me go and rush and do this thing. Oh, let me go and do this one. Let me go and do that one. And you pack all those bali together, and those bali will not really get you anything until you can see practical, until people can see how you can practically apply. And the honest truth is that in most of them, I've worked in several organizations, and they don't really train people again. It is back in those days that they used to say, oh, graduate training, oh, they'll train you for like 1 year or 2 years, then you now start doing your real work. In today's world, they don't even have time for that. They don't have budget for that, because training is cost to the company. So they don't want to hire anybody that will bring them extra cost. They want to hire somebody that from day one, you are resuming, you are working. The day I entered, the first job they gave me, they just gave me data on Nigerian Idol. Like, okay, go and analyze this data. Let's see how many customers subscribed with 50 naira, how many customers voted 10 times, who are the top voting customers. Let's see where we are making money from. And I was just looking at the data set like, wow, this is all I need to work on. And I had to just start getting my hands dirty from day one. Nobody started training me on how to use Excel or pivot tables. I had to learn all that and bring that value to the table. So the certifications are important, but if it's not relevant for that industry, there's no point going to pack a lot of them together. Then all your EDX, Coursera, Udemy, they are good for self-development. So if you are asking you, why do you have all this? You just say, oh, I have some free time in my hand and I'm just doing personal study and I'm building my skills. Not really that they will give you the job, because a lot of those things, people don't take them serious. HR guys don't take them serious because they just feel that you just sit down on your laptop and you're pressing different things. Nobody's watching. Nobody's even sure whether you're the one that did it. I did one Coursera course that by the time I finished, my friend copied all the answers I did, and he also did his own, and he got all the questions correctly. So people don't take those kind of certifications very serious. As much as they are knowledge adding, self-development adding, how to distinguish yourself matters a lot, and what value you are bringing to the table matters a lot. So let me end here because it's almost time to close.
Thank you very much, Mr. Michael. That was very, very insightful, and I don't even need to add anything again. You've said it all. You've said it all. And yes, at this point in time, we just want to round it off on this really, really high note. And we want to thank all our panelists, Mr. Samuel Akinlota, Mr. Michael Uwase, Mr. Michael Kalu, Our panelists have so many big, they have a huge load of work that they're currently working on right now, but they took time out of their very busy schedule to just do this with us, and we are just super, super grateful. We are on our feet, clapping our hands, and just doing the hurrah, hurrah. So thank you very much, Mr. Samuel and Mr. Michael and Mr. Kalu. In our usual fashion, we have everyone unmute their mics and just say thank you. So let's just unmute our mics, guys, and just tell thank our panelists.
Thank you
And
very
Thank
much.
you very much.
Thank you
Really
very, very
appreciate it.
much, guys.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
very much, Charles.
Really
Great to
appreciate
have
it.
you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, sirs.
Hello, Richard. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Mr. Emmanuel.
So you guys will be addressed soon. You guys will be addressed soon. So we just want to talk about marketing. You guys, profiling and everything, all the stuff like that. So someone will be joining the course soon now. So we need you guys to wait behind.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Adedeji. How are you doing now?
I'm very well, thank you.
How was the session today?
So I can hear you clearly.
I said, how was the session today?
I'm supposed to be asking you
It was
now.
awesome. It was insightful.
Alright.
I learned a lot.
Richard, how will I put this? How was the session today, Alicia, for you? Let me just say that.
Man, in my apartment, I watched on TV with my friends. More like watching a movie.
What did you say?
That's connected to the TV while the session was on with my friends, so we could able to join. So it was so informative.
Wow. Okay. So
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Sorry for taking your time. Okay, Samuel is in the lobby. Let me just admit him. So I just want to quickly share or quickly explain the reason why we are here. So if you remember, we asked you guys to send in your profile pictures and just a brief summary of yourself and all that stuff. And we have Samuel in the house. He's our content manager, social media manager, and the whole nine works. So we want to start pushing, promoting you guys on our social media platforms and stuff. And Samuel will be helping us with that. He'll be helping us with that project. And so for this week, it will be the two of you that will be, pushing out there and, promoting basically. And someone just wants to ask you a couple of questions, just random stuff that would help us in creating a suitable content around promoting you guys on our social media platform. So do you have any questions before I hand over the floor to Samuel?
Don't have any questions.
So yeah, Samuel, thank you for coming. You said you didn't receive the link. We were expecting you, and we sent the link out.
Mommy?
Yes, now Samuel. So the meeting for today, our career development session, you registered, but we didn't see you.
I just finished another meeting now. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, no problem. I understand. Okay, so yeah, the floor is yours. Yeah, you can ask away.
All right, thanks, guys. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Can you get me?
Very well.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm not I'm one person like that.
Sorry?
So I just wanted to just get to know you guys briefly, so I can help market you guys more on social media. You get. At first, I want to just collect you guys' consent that whatever you guys say here, I can post it on social media. Is that fine by you? That's okay.
All right.
Is that fine by you?
Yes, it is.
So I'll just start with Richard. Richard, just like briefly, just tell me how your experience has been in the past. I don't know how long you've been a trainee. In the past 3 months, what have you learned so far? How has Octave been to you? Like, has the environment been friendly? Just generally, how like the other graduate trainees? How is your relationship with them? How do you compare your what you've learned from before the graduate training and now? Just it's like a summary. Just like one of the analysts said today, learning on Udemy is not the same as learning on in a industry-based kind environment. So before coming on the program, I've been learning on Udemy, on Coursera, but just kind of abstract and practical. Like, I've not applied them to really life scenarios. But coming on, okay, one good thing about it is before starting lecture, they always try to relate it to real life experience because it's not about it's about the skill, but how you apply it in the real world. For example, today, Mr. Blessing was teaching us how to write proposal. So let's look on the outline. It's not the same as using the past experience or none that has already sent out. And the way he was able to do the scoping, he was able to do the management and everything. So what I would say about this training is it's able to gain industry experience, the first aspect of it. Another example, during the weekend, Mr. Emmanuel gave us an assignment to do a prediction. And after watching the YouTube tutorial, I feel like I know how to do it. But getting my hands dirty on the data, like I could not just do it. Like it seems so simple on YouTube, but doing it in Pascal was a bit different from what I saw on YouTube. So that gave me a leverage to reach out to my colleagues and be able to respond together and come with something. So in my own word, I would say the graduate training program has been so practical and industry based. I don't know if that's the question. All right, that's fine. That's fine, I guess. Esther.
Okay, thank you for the question. I'd like to start by saying, in one word, so far this graduate training program has really been, I would best describe it as an employability program. Really, like, I enjoy the fact that really, I was skeptical before joining this program. I was like, okay, especially because of the cost and all, but really, I can say in the past 3 to 4 weeks, like, I'm not regretting at all that I came on board on this program, and like I've really been getting a whole lot for it's really an investment, and like I'm just grateful for the opportunity. Really, it's a wowing opportunity for me. The sides to data analytics I've never seen. I've been exposed to it. I'm still learning, and I'm happy learning it. the most amazing aspect for me so far that I never saw before coming on board was the project management part of data science. It's rare to really focus on that side when you are outside this kind of program. What you see is just learning the tool and learning. But really, you don't get to bridge the gap between knowing how to use the tools and then solving real life business problems. So this program basically has been one that is aimed to help solve such problem. And I'm glad to be here, and just cheers to a lot of learning for me. It's been a great one. I've been enjoying my time here. Thank you.
Nice. So let me go back to Richard. Can you give me 2 or 3 tools that you have mastered within this period? Probably Tableau, Power BI, stuff like that.
Okay, I won't really say I've mastered it. I'm getting to know it better because, as I said earlier, learning on your own, it's not structured. But when you see people that have been in the industry for years, they're able to give you direction and the outline on how to go about it. So that's how I put up. I won't say I'm a master yet, but I'm on the right track to become a master. So currently, I'll be able to grab R, the concepts. But I just, if I want to do myself on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll give myself 4 for now. Yeah, R, programming language R.
Okay.
Just to know how to apply it in real world. PowerPoint and things still. I want to say I do, but I'm not. Okay, let me say I do system R and Power BI. Yeah, because I'm able to do so many assignments in Power BI in the last 3 weeks.
Alright, that's nice. Esther.
Okay, tools I can confidently use, I would say Excel, Power BI, and MySQL confidently. Okay, I have an idea of R. I can use Python, but I would say confidently Excel, Power BI, and MySQL. Thank you.
So last question, I'm sorry. Where do you guys what kind of industry do you see yourself working in the next 5 years? What kind of projects do you want to be working on? Stuff like that. Richard first.
Okay, based on my past experience, because in data we look at historical data to predict the future. So I've worked in the public sector before. So looking forward, I would like to basically work maybe in tax admission system, because I've actually worked on a project close to that. So I just want to use data. Oh, hello? Hello,
I didn't get what you said.
Okay, so I would love to work in public sector, how to apply data in making good governance decisions. So that's what to make accountability and transparency more pronounced in Nigeria using data.
Okay. All right. Esther.
Okay. I would say that I've been trying to gather domain knowledge about the financial sector. So I would like to work in the financial sector, say bank. Although I've never worked in such environment before, but I'm looking forward to working in that kind of environment. Or in telecoms or financial sector basically.
Richard, you said public sector for governance, accountability. Then Esther, you said
Yes.
financial sector. Yeah. Okay. I think that's fine. You guys, thank you guys so much for your time. I hope I'm not infringing on your time or anything. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Richard and Esther. Thank you, Samuel. Thank you, everyone. And have a lovely weekend ahead. Yeah, bye-bye.
You too, bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.